Hey guys, Jen Graff's Q Life here. Thanks for joining me in the Zoom room. We have a great podcast ahead of us with some amazing coaches and athletes, number one athletes and coaches across the nation that will be sharing a lot of their knowledge and expertise with you. And I am so excited. The audio at the beginning of our podcast got a little shaky, so we had to cut out the first little part of it, so there's not really an intro or anything. We just jump right into things with Coach Jose from Leftcoast Athletix. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's just jump right in. Thanks.
Okay, so why don't we, with those of us that are on the call, I know Gio, like I said, Coach Price is going to jump in a little bit. Not sure what Ethan is. Hopefully he's not having technical difficulties. I'm in a different room. So why don't we start with you, Jose? So give us a little background about yourself and what you do and how you do it.
How we doing, fellas? What's up, Ethan? Coach Jose Mohler. I run Leftcoast Athletix. I've been an aspiring football player ever since I've been a little kid. Always wanted to be, prolific at being a quarterback, and that eventually evolved into being a coach. Really passionate about what I do out here in San Diego, helping train and, share my past experiences with playing the quarterback position, with whether it's success or failure on and off the field, with the next generation of kids, and hoping we can add to their perspective of just understanding, their emotions, understanding the physical nature of the game and the emotional nature of the game, and just passionate about that and looking to learn from all you guys.
Sai, you can be next.
Okay. Coach Siaha, Burley. I have been coaching and training for years, especially the coaching side of it. I just really went full-time with the training the last year. I was doing it in the off season of being a head coach for the last 4 years. So still learning and growing in the training world. I train with, I do my own training. I train with Exos for the draft picks and whatnot. So just always been involved with football as a player, and then as a coach for the last 10, 12 years. Just different transition in my life right now from coaching. Really like the training aspect. I like dealing with the youth and the kids and young NFL players, college players, kind of the whole spectrum, and gives me some free time to kind of spend time with my kids as well. So, there's some great quarterback coaches that have a chance to spend time with in San Diego with some of these guys like Jose and whatnot. Learned a lot from being around them. They've been doing training a lot longer full-time than I have. So just excited to be in the world of training and continuing to touch, youth and people and go from there.
Okay, how about you, Kedon? And then when we're done talking, let's everybody mute so that will help the audio.
My name's Kedon Slovis. I'm a quarterback at USC currently. I'm going to be a sophomore next year. And I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been working with Jen since high school, and she's worked with me and my teams for the past several years. So, just excited to offer a player's perspective and, answer any questions that anyone has.
Awesome. JJ?
Hi, I'm JJ McCarthy. I'm currently a senior in high school. I'll be attending IMG Academy this fall, and excited to be here and excited to answer any questions about the mindset of high schoolers.
Love it. Ethan?
Ethan Moore. I go to University City High School, but I'm originally from Arizona. I moved here last year and went to high school with Kedon 1 year at Desert Mountain, but now I live in California, and just excited to learn from Kedon and JJ and all the coaches here.
Awesome. Gio? Oh, you have to unmute. Sorry. Can't hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
There?
Yep.
Yeah, hi. It's Mike Giovando, quarterback coach out here in Arizona. Actually trained a lot of the guys we were just talking. So no, full time at this now, year round, round the clock, trying to work on getting guys better at playing the position, not only on the field but off the field, and get to do this every day, 365 days a year. I've been coaching football almost 27 years, junior college and high school. Last couple of years, just been full time at this whole quarterback training business, and happy to be here and happy to answer any questions that come my way, and do whatever I can to help.
Awesome. All right, so I had this idea actually a couple months ago when we first kind of shut down, and I was thinking about like all the different coaches and players that I have relationships with, that I've seen coach, that I know are making huge impacts in the lives of our football players and stuff. And I really started thinking about how, especially even for me as an entrepreneur, and I know you guys at coaches as well, like during what's gone on in these last few months, like how have we had to make that mental shift, both in our coaching careers, but then also for you guys as athletes. So I'm really curious, like for the players, let's start with you guys. What have you guys done to stay on top of your game while you're not in your game? And some of you for a while couldn't, touch, play catch, do anything. So how did you, and when did you realize like, okay, I got to make a shift and do something different right now in order to be ready for whenever we're ready to go back? Kedon, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Personally for me, the way I kind of looked at it was an opportunity to do things I wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity to do at school and while I had practice going on. So for me personally, I just come back from an elbow injury, so my arm wasn't necessarily where I wanted it to be, and that was kind of something I wanted to focus on in my time away from school, because the fact that I wasn't throwing didn't have to throw every day, wasn't having practice every day, kind of allowed me to kind of reevaluate what mechanics I was doing and my arm care routine and stuff like that. And I think that time really allowed me to kind of fix that and just give it an extra attention to something that, normally I wouldn't give the time of day.
Awesome. How about you, JJ?
This off season's kind of been crazy since past month. I just figured out that I would be moving schools, and what I've been doing since everything's going on is going down to Arizona and training with Coach Gio. And because in Chicago, where I'm from, it's a lot worse than any other states, and every time we tried to go on the field, we were either getting called into the police station or kicked off immediately. So it was good to get down there. And since I am moving schools, my biggest priorities have been learning the playbook and staying in contact with my future teammates as much as possible, because the off-season lifts, a lot of it has to do with just building that chemistry instead of building the personal, physical strengths that you need. It's a lot of the chemistry. And I've just kind of been trying to build up that whole team feel with them as much as I can.
Awesome. And JJ, was your decision to move partly because of what's going on in the country, or was that in the works before? So you made an immediate shift and actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Immediate shift, because I was not planning on going there at all until they hit me up, and it was the right decision for me.
Awesome. Ethan?
I think the biggest thing for me was just trying to separate myself from everyone, because a lot of people aren't doing anything right now because this is time and excuse to relax and be lazy. So I think for me it was just trying to get in extra work. So when this is done, I can be that much farther ahead of everybody else. So just throwing with Gio or Coach Jose and just getting in home workouts as much as I can, and being in contact with my coach, Coach Price and Coach Jose at my school, just try and get in as much work as possible to try to come out of this better than I came in.
I love it. That's awesome. Coaches, how have you guys feel like you've had to make a shift in what you do as a business, but then also how you're motivating your athletes? I think there was a period of time where all of us, I don't know, maybe not Gio, but where we couldn't work with our athletes. So how did you guys shift quickly to still try to be influential and impact your athletes the best you could? Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, so you kind of have to adapt with the times, right? or else you're going to get left behind. So you kind of have to figure out how am I going to come at my clients and be able to allow them to find growth and find more intelligence throughout their week, and just basically create an online offering, whether it's Zoom. Everybody's getting hot with Zoom right now, and then whether it's doing like mechanics evaluation breakdowns of just their movement, and then just trying to draw inspiration, because like Ethan said, it's an easy time to become stagnant. When standard gets taken away from a lot of people, they end up taking the easy route just because they're really not inspired. So with me, like I mentioned in the intro, it's like I've always wanted to be, good at football. And now that I get to be a coach and get to inspire the next generation of the San Diego quarterbacks, it's important for me to find, a higher level of understanding, whether it's the mental, the emotional, or the physical aspect of the game. So I've been looking to not let my mind deteriorate in those type of aspects. So yeah, just draw more inspiration consistently throughout my day.
Awesome. Gio?
Nothing changed for me. I got 25 times busier, pretty much. I haven't had a minute since this whole thing kind of happened, as you well know, because we've been trying to pin down some times. And you had to make a small adjustment there for the first couple months there where, I see about 120 guys a week, maybe more. And we had to make an adjustment to where we could get all 120 guys or whoever wanted to get the work in. We had to break those groups up a little bit differently and make sure everybody could get the work in they wanted. Plus all the college guys are down here for 3 months, and they were top priority as far as keeping them sharp and keeping them ready. So honestly, I've been on the field since this thing happened, and I just got off the field and got onto this call, and I'm headed back out on it again. Siaha, I know he's in the same boat I am. We had to separate ourselves from one another because we usually come together and train with each other. But the fact that, we were trying to be careful and be smart, we separated ourselves and kind of did our own thing. But now we're trying to link up and get back together again. But no, honestly, this thing that happened for us, we here in Arizona, I just know me personally, I got three times as busy as I ever could imagine. And so, in a way it was positive for me, but more positive for a lot of the kids as well that could get in some extra work, a lot of extra work. So I look at, for every negative, something that's bad, something positive can come out of it. And that's kind of the way this worked, for us here, at least.
Awesome. How about you, Si? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Well, yeah, Gio hit the nail on the head. In Arizona, it's a football state, warm weather, so a lot of college and NFL guys were here during COVID wanting to get work, and the high school kids are going crazy at home. So we just had to figure out small groups and separate people and social distance as much as possible and try to stay safe and yet, exercise and get outdoors and maybe run some routes and separate, from doing too much contact stuff and keep our space. But yeah, I've definitely had a growth of clients because of it. So, but again, it's about staying safe and making sure parents. I lost some kids, but for the ones I lost, twice as many came. Just different people. So it's been great for business for me. Like I said, we just had to separate from Gio because I think the first time COVID hit, we had like 100 people out there, so it's just, adapting with the times, like Jose said. Trying to figure out how to stay safe, but yet, stay getting better and giving, kids what they need and want to stay sharp and get better.
Awesome. Coach Price, a little different scenario for you as a high school coach. What have you had to shift and adapt into?
Yeah, first of all, appreciate the opportunity to be here. Sorry I was a little bit late. I'm at work. For me, the challenge was we had a group of kids that dove headfirst into the weight room in December, right after the season was over. They had the train moving 100 miles an hour, and we were making really great progress, and the kids were all in and doing off-season stuff. And then this thing hit, and it kind of puts everyone all stop, and everyone's kind of depressed and down, and it's hard to keep kids locked in. And so just making the point to try to reach out to kids every week and check in and make sure they're doing okay and staying locked in and staying positive and saying, yeah, we're going to have a season. We're going to have a season, kind of speak it into existence almost, and keep those kids believing that, you know, keep working on your own because it's going to come. I know it's hard not to get frustrated that they had made a bunch of progress and that, you know, they have to try to pick back up where they left off. And some of those guys that are going to be seniors this year won't get to do their last spring ball. They missed spring ball of their going into their senior year. So, you know, disappointed for those guys and trying to keep them in good spirits. But really, like all the other coaches have said, trying to keep it into a positive and keep everyone on the right track and motivated and laser focused on that we are going to have a season. And when we get the green light, we're going 100 miles an hour because we got a lot of work to do in a little bit of time, and just get ready for the ride because it's going to be, you know, the train is going to be moving even faster than before. For me personally, you know, I'm obviously just as disappointed and upset as everybody else to have our current seniors, our graduated class of 2020, miss out on the spring of their senior year in terms of get to do all the things that they are supposed to get to do when they graduate, and then, you know, not getting to get in the weight room with the guys and do spring ball and do our usual 7-on-7 tournaments and things we've had to do or that we've been doing traditionally for years. You know, we all get caught in a little bit of depression about it, but I even personally made it into a positive for myself and said, well, why don't I do something even more constructive with this time and even use the time to focus on myself personally and, you know, eat right, work out more and do all those things. So, I mean, I'm trying to obviously lead by example, but for me, I looked at all these kids that were upset and depressed, and I'm feeling the same way, but I had to kind of check myself and say, hey, you're speaking about positivity, live it. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 3 months.
I love that. You look great as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No worries. Okay. Players, what do you guys look for in like a good coach, and how are you trying to foster that relationship with your teammates while you're away? I know JJ, you kind of touched on it, but if there's anything else to add, like as far as looking to keep you know, not only yourself motivated, but what kind of qualities do you look for in a coach, as well as how are you fostering that relationship with your teammates while you're away? Go ahead, Kedon.
Sorry about that. I mean, when it first comes to teammates, it's not easy. I was kind of asked this question a lot. You know, you're used to seeing guys in the locker room every day, and just seeing them around campus, and then just like that, you know, you're stuck at home and you don't see anybody. So to me, it's just a matter of checking in on guys, texting them, calling them, seeing what they're up to, and you know, that may sound super easy, and it is to an extent, but it's also it's given me kind of a renewed gratification of just seeing those guys in the locker room every day, and you know, kind of not taking that for granted anymore, because it's so much easier to check in on someone when they're in the same place as you. So I've just been trying to keep in touch with everyone the best I can and do it that way. When you talk about, you know, fostering that relationship with a coach, I think it's different for every person specifically. But when it comes to me, you know, I just want a coach that will push me and, you know, can push me as hard as they want, and to get to the point where I have a relationship with them when I, you know, I won't ever take it personally. You know, I've always been coached by my dad growing up, so that's kind of come easy because I know that at the end of the day he loved me. But I think with my coach now, Coach Harrell at USC, we've kind of developed that relationship to the point where, you know, I know no matter what he says, it's never personal, but I know he can always, he's not afraid to hold back to any extent, because it's, again, like I said, it's never personal, and it's only to get everyone better. So I think it depends on the person. You know, some people don't like being coached that way. But again, that's just what it is for me.
Awesome. Ethan?
I think about the play, like what you said about the players, like just testing them and kind of like keeping them in check, like so they're not slacking off, and see if they're like getting in, going out and running, or going out and maybe throw routes with them, or like just keeping them doing something at least, because it's easy, like I said, off. So if they're not doing anything, then, you know, when it comes to the season, it's probably going to be a little rough for them. So just trying to keep them in check and just see if they're doing something. And with the coach, I think a good coach for me is just someone who cares, not about me, but the team. and just actually like loves the game, like doesn't do it just because, you know, they want some extra money or just whatever like that. They actually love the kids and love the game and just want to push them, and not only about football but about life. I think that's what Coach Price always says. He tries to teach them about life and life lessons more than just football. So I think that's the best.
Awesome. JJ?
With the whole players thing, kind of like I touched on earlier, I've always been trying to stay in contact with my future teammates, and Kedon's definitely right. It's a lot easier just being able to say what's up to them in the weight room or just passing by to them in the halls or something. And the texting stuff does get a little frustrating, but it's something we got to do in order to have a tight-knit group come fall time. And kind of with the coach, in the hockey world, I've always had coaches where if you were not good, they did not care about you. And kind of having best of both worlds, where I have some football coaches that will just kind of be a kiss ass and not really get on you and stuff. And I just really enjoy a coach who you can tell if they want the best out of you and is always trying to get the best out of you. No matter what you're failing at or succeeding at, they just want the best out of you. And you can really tell when a coach cares. And when a coach cares, then I think that's what makes special teams.
That's awesome. Coaches, do you guys have anything to add to that?
No, I think they hit it right on the head.
Perfect. Coaches,
I'll add something real quick.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's kind of you get from what all the kids are saying is what it really comes down to for both the players and the coaches is trust, right? That's really what it's about at the end of the day. And there's a level of when you establish that trust, knowing that I'm going to get on you when you're acting wrong on and off the field, or when you're not doing your job, but I'm going to be the first one to pick you back up and tell you how much I love you and give you the positive reinforcement. And it's finding the balance of that line of trust, knowing how far you can push a kid without breaking that confidence and without breaking that trust. And for a coach, that's probably the most important thing in terms of how you coach your players.
That's awesome. Cool. Coaches, now let's talk about a little bit of the mental side of things. What do you guys feel makes kids mentally tough? There's all this talk about kids being soft these days and entitled and all of those things. This is obviously elite position. These guys have to be dialed in, have to be focused, have to be mentally resilient. Have you guys seen any trends or anything? What do you feel like makes these athletes mentally tough? Siaha, you want to start? Oh, you're muted.
You got me? So I just have always tried to make the environment as competitive as possible from the minute I introduce, kids or players to my programs and my groups, just to get them to understand that everything we do is competitive and you can never relax. And the quicker they get used to competition and accept it, obviously it translates to their style of play and their mental toughness. If you don't want to compete, obviously you're not going to go very far in sports. So I think it's very important. Every drill, everything we talk about, from the environment to the meeting rooms to the field, it's always about competition and competing, and that draws mental toughness from that.
Love that. Gio?
Yeah, I'd have to say exactly the same thing, kind of side thing here. I first of all, if you live in Arizona, you got to be tough to be out there with 110, and we'll be out there tomorrow at 12:15. We'll see how many guys show up, and lately, a lot of guys have been showing up. So that tells me a lot of these guys are tough mentally, because it takes a lot to get out there in this heat and do this. Second of all, like he said, the competitive aspect of it all. I don't do we do some small group stuff, but when we get our top guys out there, and Ethan can confirm this, and so can JJ. Our best guys are out there, and you're going against some of the best guys in the country. some of the best guys here locally as well. And, you know, we're going to see if you can compete. We're going to see, you know, where you stand. You don't get better by training with people that are worse than you are. You get better by training with people that are better than you are. And to me, that's how I can kind of see how if a kid's got it or not. You know, at least as far as that goes, being around other guys that might have a little bit more than he has right now skill-wise, and then see how hard he's working to get to that level. Also, at the end of the day, I just turn on the film. I know these coaches will talk about it on Friday night. Go turn on the film and see how they're competing. See how they're competing on the downs that matter. See how they're competing when when the game's on the line, when the play has to be made, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, you know, 4th down. That's what I look for, you know. And so at the end of the day, it's really about, you know, what they do out there on the field when the lights are on, and when it's coming down to the wire and a play has to be made. I mean, that's where I look and see the mental toughness in kids, you know, and players.
Jose?
Yeah, so when I think about the mental toughness aspect of the game, I think, you know, that term of whether it's cockiness, confidence, or faith, if you don't believe in yourself when the time is the toughest, I think we're gonna all agree that, okay, being mentally tough is performing when the circumstances are the toughest, the stakes are the highest, or you're hurt, or it's a cold game. And if you don't believe in yourself at all phases and truly, you know, back it up with a firm process that's detail oriented, and, you know, you have a professional mindset, and you have a deep rooted passion for just executing highly detailed, and, you know, like Coach said, getting around people that are better than you, because in order to be better than someone, you're going to have to change the way you're doing it, and you're going to have to adapt a new way. And that's understanding your details, whether it's seeing it with your eyes or understanding it with your mind. I think, you know, all these things, whether it's detail, whether it's being able to be competitive, or just have that cold-blooded faith in yourself to say, no matter what comes across my path, I'm going to eat it up. I'm going to be successful from it. So that's one of the main things I revert back to when I think about mental toughness.
I love it. I think Coach Price, did I get you?
Yeah, for me, I think one of the most glaring things about kids and mental toughness is a lot of kids have not been given the opportunity or haven't experienced failing in life when they get to high school. And so if they haven't played competitive sports, or they have, and it's just not that competitive, one of the main things about the way you see young men grow is by experiencing failure. And you coach them, you teach them, but you let them experience that failure and learn from it and grow from it, and you know, experience that adversity and develop that mental toughness through going through those experiences. You can't rescue them or save them from those things, right? You have to let them experience it. You have to let them learn from the tough moments and the failures. And so that's a huge thing for building character and mental toughness, is we constantly preach, you know, fighting through adversity, just like the majority of coaches do. But the biggest thing is allowing those kids to have those moments, and then teaching them how they can overcome them and use them for positivity and mental toughness.
Love it. That's awesome. Okay, players, what do you think, and then for coaches too, what characteristics and what things get in your way of holding you back from your true potential? Like, this is real talk. Like, for you guys personally, what do you feel like holds you back or stifles you from reaching your true potential? Maybe nothing, maybe something, but I think we all have stuff we can work on. I'm just curious to know what, let's start with JJ. You have anything? Might even be something you're working on.
Working on, or like something stopping from, like, I need to work on being a lot more patient, and on and off the field. I'm kind of an impatient guy, and just kind of letting time work itself out, and just a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now, and I'm thinking way too far ahead to the season and stuff, when I should be focusing on little small term goals instead of the bigger term goals.
Perfect. Ethan?
Kind of like what JJ said, kind of like living in the moment. I think for me, just kind of just take a deep breath, kind of just let things play out and not try to rush it or look too far ahead. Just, live in the now, and, things will work itself out probably.
Perfect. Kedon?
I think for me, it's just maintaining confidence. And not that I'm not confident, but I kind of found last year as the season went on, every throw that I made when I was confident in, and before I even knew what happened, if I was confident in it and knew that I liked what I was doing, every time it was completion and exactly what happened, what I wanted to happen. So I think for me is, just maintaining that and, just feeling that more and more that, and not having a false sense of confidence. There are times too where you kind of force yourself to think that you're having confidence in something and it turns out to be go horribly wrong. So I think just having a sincere sense of confidence and just trusting yourself is really important.
Perfect. Coaches, what do you see as characteristics that might hold athletes back? Coach Price?
Characteristics that might hold athletes back. One of the things is they get comfortable. If their success if they have a lot of success at an early age, and they don't experience a lot of competition, adversely to the other situation we're talking about. If kids can get comfortable really easily, and there's a balance to constantly keeping kids outside of their comfort zone. And so when you push them continuously out of their comfort zone, that's when they grow. But the biggest thing is that kids have a tendency, once they become a starter, or once they get in their groove, or once they feel comfortable around their teammates and their coaches, and they establish those relationships, they have a tendency to get comfortable. And it's that constant, you're constantly pushing to try to get them out of that comfort zone.
Love it. Jose?
For me, it would probably be just trying to make everybody happy and understanding that you're basically different and you can't be a normal person. If you're going to sacrifice your life to being great at something that you can potentially do for the rest of your life, and I always tell the kids, it's like, do you look at your parents and see that they're truly happy with what they're doing? And a lot of them are just genuinely, nope. So it's like, we're so lucky, especially as coaches or as a player, to be able to chase what you truly love. And you got to respect that. You got to understand that you can't be a normal kid sometimes. You can't go out and make everybody happy. And I struggled with that when I was in college. A lot of people wanted to hang out with me when I was in college because I was a Cali kid. And I didn't know how to say no when the time was right. So I put myself in a tough situation. And, once the coaches get a hold of stuff like that, especially at the highest levels, they're going to file you in a bad compartment and just a bad place in their mind. So, I always urge kids to be able to say, it's like you can have a social life, but you just can't have both. You can't have both at an exponential rate. And it's hard for a young man to say, oh, blah, blah, they think they know everything. So that's always the fight I'm trying to fight with the kids. It's just help enlighten them when it comes to the way they live their lifestyle more than, anything. So.
Gio?
I just think a lot of kids, like these guys are saying, you get instant gratification nowadays because you can get whatever you want. Click on a song and you get it on your phone. You can, everything's kind of right at your fingertips. But, really what holds some people back, or a lot of people back, is not really having their goals written down. Okay, like taking your goals and writing down your short-term, long-term, maybe your goals for the day, and writing them on a piece of paper and pulling them out of your pocket and looking at them. Or just, I'm constantly writing stuff down every day, what I have to get done, what I want to achieve, and I check it off. And that's just the way that if you don't know what you want, then, if you're just getting up every day, I'm going to my workout, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But what is your goal? What is your goal for that day? What is your plan for that day? Write it down. What do you want to see change? That's what I tell kids coming all the time to training. I'm like, I told you last week, you're doing the same thing you did last week. You haven't fixed it yet. I'm not going to magically fix that. You have to go and, that's something you have to work on to get better at, and that's a goal. You write that, I'm going to go outside today, I'm going to do whatever it is. But the biggest thing I see is you just don't write anything down anymore. You don't have a goal. You don't have a plan, like a real plan. And, that's just different than I grew up, my dad's a football coach 40 years. I mean, that's all it was about, writing stuff down. Where do you see yourself? What do you want to do? How are you going to get there? What did you do today, to get better, and all those kinds of things. And, if you want that greatness, then that's something you're going to probably have to think about doing in the long term, is being able to write stuff down and check yourself every day. That's all I got to say.
Gio, you're speaking my language because that's what I do with my clients for a living. So make that plan, work backwards, write it down, meditate, visualize, all of those things. Like you have to know where you're going and then make a plan backwards. Doesn't always work on the exact timeline, but you got to start somewhere and continue to move forward. So that's awesome. Siaha, you're muted, so you can unmute.
No, I think the coaches are right on, with guys being complacent and not being driven to get better once they, experience success, and kind of to feed off of what they're saying and Gio was saying about this generation of kids. This era, this generation nowadays is about instant gratification, and which led to a lot of the transfer issues. Okay, so the kids I see over the last few years not getting instant gratification at their schools, on their teams, it turns into a lot of transferring and just jumping ship and not sitting there being competitive and battling out like it did, years ago, where school you went to, and you had to come in a year, you weren't starting, you worked your butt off in the off season, and you earned that spot next year, and then this year, these times now, I see kids making mistakes. I see some good transfers that end up going great for the kids, but I see some bad transfers from college and high school that end up, kids coming back to me a year later, 2 years later, I didn't get no film, I should have never transferred, or a kid that was supposed to be a big-time player ends up, transferring from a big university to another one where he doesn't even start over there. Just all about, that's what we're going to do. We get upset about playing time or the coach or whatnot, and they run, and they transfer and leave the situation, and it doesn't always work out for them, So I think there's a fine line of when to push the transferring and leaving scenarios and situations versus staying there, strapping up the boots and battling out and earning your job outright in your spot. So I think there's been so many on the wrong side of the stick, with the transferring thing and leaving because of, not getting that instant gratification.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to go into a few questions that some people gave me for the guys on social media. I'll start with you, JJ. I know you're in a little bit of a time crunch, so I'm going to give you a couple of questions, and then you can stay on as long as you can, and if you have to leave, no worries. So, JJ, any advice on pursuing scholarships? What was your first offer and when?
My first offer was a lot earlier than everyone else's. It was in 8th grade, and it was from Iowa State University. And the whole scholarship thing and offers and, 5-star, that means nothing. And you could ask Kedon, the man himself. It means absolutely nothing. We all go to one school. We all have our different path to getting to that school. It's what you do when you get that opportunity and when someone gives you that offer. And to be honest, if you're a kid that works his hardest and you're in the right situation school-wise, where you have some kids on your team that get attention, if you work your butt off, you'll earn a scholarship and earn your spot, no matter where it is. As long as it's free, it's football. And you can be in D3, D2, D1, no matter what. You still have an opportunity, if you are that good, to go to the NFL and achieve that top honor. And just being patient with scholarship offers, because they're going to come, and everything needs to work out before you're ready to get that offer and stuff like that. And also just always know that offers aren't committable right away, and always looking at every school and not jump on a school right away just because you liked it when you were 6 years old till now. and just always looking at everything and not falling in love with the school just because of the coaching staff. That's for sure. Yeah.
Kedon, you have anything to add to that one?
No, I think he hit on the head with that one, and it's, it really shows the type of kid JJ is as a 5-star kid to kind of have that mindset. It's easy for me as a 3-star kid who only had so many offers to say that, but he's one of the top kids in the country, and he's saying the same thing. So that's definitely the right mindset to have, and I couldn't have said it better.
Kedon, so this is a question for you. What advice do you have to give to like Ethan and JJ and anyone else in that position to take full advantage of their last couple of high school years while they're, the starting QB?
I'd say my high school experience is probably a lot different than your guys's, but I'd say just enjoy it. And I know a lot of people probably say that, but to me, embrace everything that comes with your situation. So, for me in high school, I went 3-7 my senior year. We weren't a very talented team. I think only like 2 other kids on that team are still playing college football, and they're playing at they're not playing at the Division I level. So it really just shows you it was a tough year for me, but also with that, I think I learned so much from that year of football. It wasn't the easiest year, and it wasn't the most fun I ever had playing football, but I learned so much from it. And similar to me, if you're ever dealt a situation that isn't perfect, or you face adversity, just face it and learn from it. It's not the big your senior year in high school hopefully won't be your last year as a football player. So take what you can from it and move on and learn from it and put it to use in the next level.
Awesome. Sai, this question is for you. We've all heard there's no such thing as quarterback without great receivers. Do coaches and quarterbacks really realize how important you are in developing the receivers and the route running that they do?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So it says, we've all heard no such thing as great quarterback without great receivers.
Right.
Do you think coaches and quarterbacks realize how important it is to develop the receivers and the great route runners? Is it about speed? Is it about route running? What do you see the relationship with that?
It's a direct correlation. I train receivers to be quarterback friendly, so to speak, because obviously we know that the toughest job on the field is the quarterback position. And to get receivers that are very talented physically and aggressive and want the ball and, showcase their talents and skills, you got to understand what the guy behind that line is going through and what he's seeing and where he wants you to be at so he can get you the ball. So it's definitely the better receivers, clearly are going to, the better, I should say, disciplined receivers are going to make quarterbacks look better when they're not doing too much in their routes and the quarterback knows where they're going to be, they're where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there, and the timing is better. So all those intricate details of route running and spacing and depth, speed, of course, and ball skills are going to definitely benefit, quarterbacks at any level. So definitely try to take the best athletes, but really instill discipline in what they're doing and make them, like I said, quarterback friendly, and eliminate all the extracurricular stuff they're trying to do in their routes that really throw off quarterbacks.
Love it. JJ, I got this over my Instagram. This kid is a huge fan of yours, and he wants to know what it's like being a high school quarterback and what's your biggest challenge.
My biggest challenge. My biggest challenge will probably be like being a quarterback, there's so many challenges we face. It's just hard to pick out one because there's so many obstacles we have to get by and so many things we have to do to be great at the position we play at. So there's challenges mentally, physically, with your mechanics. It's all over the place. So that's why Coach was saying that it's one of the toughest positions in the game. But the biggest challenge right now for me would probably just be getting this playbook down and learning it like the back of my hand. Because if you don't know that, then you're not going to perform well at all.
And you and I talked about that, right? About trying to be prepared with what you can be prepared with.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
And then I know Kedon and I spend a lot of time talking about that as well. Like, you have to be that whole confidence thing. You have to be confident enough, because I know you guys as quarterbacks, like I said, Kedon and I had a full conversation about you can make one throw and 5 people think it's the most amazing throw and 4 people are dogging you because it's the worst throw ever. So making sure that you're in check with exactly internally how you're doing versus what the whole world around you is saying you are and what you're doing. Because I think that's something that can really kind of mess with that mental mindset sometimes, when we value the opinion of others over what we internally are actually doing and thinking about ourselves. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally agree with that. It definitely, a lot of people have the fear of what other people think and the fear of messing up and the letting your teammates down, but there's zero fear in anything when you're prepared for a situation or you know how hard you worked for it. So that's kind of where fear doesn't really bother me when it comes to my game, because I prepare myself so well that I won't have to be in that situation.
Kedon, you have anything to add to that?
I guess a few things. We talk about fear, and we had a group team meeting the other day, and the guest speaker we had was a former Marine captain, something of the sort, and he kind of said, failure is not succeeding. Failure is not being able to learn from your mistake and adapt. Failure is not recognizing the mistake you made. So I think we kind of view failure as a different thing. As athletes, we're going to make mistakes, but the point of you make a mistake is, are you going to learn from it and get better, or are you just going to let that mistake occur and continue to happen? And you talked again about being with your confident in yourself and your own abilities. I want to share a quick story. There's a game this year where I threw 3 interceptions, and to the outside viewer, I probably played the worst game I've ever had. And not saying I didn't play the best game I ever had, but it definitely, to the outside viewer, on the stat line, I had 3 turnovers and it looked like the worst performance ever. But my coaches probably wouldn't have said that I had the worst game ever. And in reality, the first pick was tip ball, second pick, my arm got hit, and the third pick, our receiver got tackled. And you don't want to make excuses for yourself, but the point being that it's really important to have your perspective in check, because at the end of the day, I could have let that ruin my confidence, but I shouldn't be worried about what those people think, because at the end of the day, their opinion doesn't matter. My teammates and my coaches and the people around me, that's what matters.
Awesome. Ethan, you got anything?
No, I think right on the head. That was good.
Awesome. Let's see. Can you guys, any of you athletes, give me an example of something that you had to be mentally resilient and overcome, and like what you learned from it, like something really hard that you've had to be mentally resilient for and how you overcame it? Like, obviously, Kedon just even mentioned that story about looking like he might be bad in a game and then just mentally just having to understand that it was within himself. JJ, you have any?
Probably losing state this year was probably one of the biggest things for me. And because I've never been in a situation where I've lost like that big of a game and didn't do as well as I wanted. And like Kedon said, the stat line was terrible, but the 25-mile-an-hour winds and the rain and the 15-degree weather did not help very much. But just kind of looking back after the game and like seeing how upset everyone was and seeing the seniors that aren't going to play football and just seeing them so upset, that kind of like fueled me going into the next year with my teammates and being the team captain, like kind of all grouping all the juniors from last year, kind of bringing us together. And we had one common goal, and that was to win state. And kind of it wasn't just me going through that experience. I had my teammates with me that helped me go through that experience. And that's why it made it so much easier when you face something like that. And there's a lot of stuff that a lot of my buddies go through in Chicago, and a lot of stuff they have to deal with just based on being in the city and being a citizen. So I'm fortunate that the worst thing that's happened to me was losing state, and I have teammates that just make me mentally tougher just by being around them. So definitely state and being the whole situation with that.
Right. Ethan?
I think kind of what JJ said is my team that I go, my school that I go to right now, we didn't have that good of a season. So I think that's kind of like feeling all the like players that are coming back and like seeing how like, we all saw how like sad the seniors were after it was over. It's like not the way they wanted their senior season to go. Just seeing that at the end of the last game, I think kind of fueled all the players that are coming back to just not have that happen to them and work hard so their senior season or their junior season, the rest of their high school can be different.
Awesome. Kedon, you got anything else?
I mean, for me personally, it's probably, losing the competition to start this past year and quarterback competition to start this past year. And it wasn't necessarily losing it, but I think throughout that competition in the fall, in the spring, I felt like I was playing great and was excited for the fall. And then when the fall came around, I felt like instead of just being the best quarterback I could be, I was competing with everyone else directly and trying to do things that I've never done before. And I think that was the toughest thing. Because after the competition, I kind of lost sight of who I was as a quarterback and what things I did well. And it took, a week or two to kind of find that again and have confidence in my abilities and, say, there's some things that they do differently as quarterbacks that, these other guys might do better or differently. But, at the end of the day, I have to do what I do well and, just have confidence in that. And I think that was the biggest learning I had from that.
Awesome. Coaches, you have anything to add to that subject? You good? Okay, I know you guys all have places to be and things to do. So tell me what you guys, this is a Q Life question we'll kind of end with. Do you guys coaches or players, do you have any questions for each other? Anything you want to know about each other? Just raise your hand. I know you're all muted, but does anybody want to have a question about anything for each other? No? You good? I think we kind of covered a lot anyway, so that's awesome. So tell me what, we'll start with you, Jose. What is your definition of success? And then so you guys all know the name of my business is Q Life. What would you say is your definition of success and or having a Q Life?
I mentioned in my brief introduction, it's like I've had a goal since I've been a little kid. I've had a goal since I've, stepped onto the football field, and that was to be in the NFL. My definition of success is going to be, not settling until I get where I want to be. And going from transition from player to coach, I'm still deeply rooted in football, but now I have a goal. I have another goal to be respected within my community and, hopefully throughout the United States. So I'm not trying to rush that, but every day is a step in the right direction. Like Coach Gio said, things are super busy right now, and there's no way I want to, even settle to take a day off or to turn somebody away. Everybody, whether they're a 5-star kid or, they came from flag football and never played, they're going to help me get better, and they're going to help me, just figure out the person. So I'm stoked to be, going through with what I'm going through with all this pandemic stuff. But my Q Life would be, I always tell the kids, you guys got to be willing to fail. Like, I forgot who mentioned it. Somebody mentioned it in here, but one of the most courageous things is being able to fail and be mindful of failing. And I think that'll truly allow somebody to grow without having a ceiling, because the moment you stop with that eagerness to attack your failures is the moment you become stagnant. And whether it's us as a coach or the players especially, that's one of the keys ways to develop. So, and I'm all in the business of helping inspire and develop athletes and young men. So
awesome. Ethan?
My version of success, or what I see, is probably, just getting to where you want to be, just where you want to do, what you want to do in life, and if you get there, and when you get there, and if you're happy, and you done everything you want to do. You've worked hard. I think that's probably success. It's like, how would other people see, but kind of what you see and what you think is success. And if you're happy, then.
Awesome. JJ?
My definition of success and succeeding in what you want to do is just the idea of impacting the next generation in the way you want it, and through the game of football, have that impact that people like Kobe had, that have that impact that people that Tom Brady have, and just having that impact on the next generation and make this world a better place. That would be my version of success.
And what is your definition of a Q life like for you?
For me, just always being happy and being positive no matter what I do. I play football, love of the game, not because of the money or anything like that. It's because I have found a true passion in it and what I want to do for the rest of my life. So just being happy off the field, and not letting the on the field aspects affect my off the field attitude and mood, and always being a positive person.
Ty?
I think JJ hit it on the head. I mean, it's young man really spoke well about it. I mean, being able to affect people, life's about people, in my opinion, versus material and other things. We as trainers and coaches are able to touch so many lives and people, and to hear the reputation of yourself spoken in a high manner is great to hear. When you leave your legacy, when we leave this earth, what will you be known for? How many people you have touched and made a difference in their lives? Because training is football related, but it's so much more. Like Gio was saying, we're building confidence in young men, and we're building character and mentorship, and so much more comes with it than just some skill set on the football field. So that's definitely the epitome of success when you've left a great legacy of touching lives. As far as Q life, for me, I get enjoyment out of reaching so many people, and I've worked in behavioral health for years, and I've worked with some sick, mental health young people. And for me to be able to work around such positive young men that have such potential and work ethic and mindset and drive, I get great, happiness from being able to do what I do on an everyday basis, and the luxury of being able to be flexible enough to experience my own kids' growth in sports and whatnot. So, and be able to do this to make a living is the epitome for me for a great life.
That's awesome. Gio?
Yeah, I mean, all these guys kind of, hit it right on the head. I mean, for me, at the end of the day, did I make somebody else's day better, when they came to train with me? Or just any casual encounter with anybody. Did I make their day better when we spoke? Being a good person, that goes a long ways. And, I started in this, I've been training quarterbacks for over 20 years, never advertised, never did anything, none of that kind of stuff. This business kind of grew to what it is on its own. And I credit that to just doing it the right way, not worrying about other people and what they're thinking or what they're doing or what they're charging or all that kind of stuff, just doing it the right way. And not taking advantage of people and all those kinds of things. I mean, that's how you become successful. I know every day, some days I get up and I'm like, I don't feel like doing this today. I'm burned out. But that a lot, once you get there, those kids are there to see you. They're there to be around you. They got up just like you to come and get that work in. And, you're going to make their day in some way. So you better make their day a positive one. And you better give them a great experience when they're there. And that's just basically it. I mean, did I make somebody's day today? Did I, Did I make myself happy? Did I make other people happy? And with that, you'll become successful. You don't have to worry about all these other things. That it will come to you in time. It will come to you if you're patient and you do it the right way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's what sets us as coaches apart, and that's what makes you guys incredibly special, is that, doesn't matter how much you know, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And that caring capability to impact people is so huge. And I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm super fortunate. I had an office. Now I get to live in Cali and still do what I love and still be around my kids. And to me, that's the ultimate Q life, is affecting lives and still being there for my kids and building a business around exactly what I want to, while still impacting lives and making a huge difference in those that are around me. So, awesome. Coach Price?
Yeah, for me, the definition of success is, we're really part of our, mission and vision and all the things about our philosophy is about, we're in the business of molding young men and building exceptional young people. And it's not a cliche thing that people say. It's like, that's really our primary focus. And if we win some championships and we get some kids to college for free, that's the icing on the cake. And we work hard to do those things too. But the number one goal is this: when I have these kids come back 5, 6, 7, 8 years after they've graduated, and they're graduated from college and they have good jobs and they're doing well in life, and they tell me about how everything has impacted them, that they learned, that's really success for me, is the kind of people we're building and molding in life, and helping people through the things they have to go through, people that don't have father figures, people that are struggling in different ways, that need someone just to talk to, that don't have someone to talk to, but being able to be there as a voice and someone to just listen sometimes and be an ear as well, and help build young men and even women. We've had some, girls on the team. And for us, that's my number one definition of success, is the kind of people we build. For me, Q Life is really about knowing that I can look myself in the mirror and know that I gave every single thing that I had to what I care about with no question. As long as I can look myself in the mirror and I know, win, lose, or draw, that I gave everything that I possibly could to that thing, to me, that's Q Life. That's having the satisfaction of knowing I gave it my all the time. That's really what it is for me.
Awesome. Kedon?
I think we talk about setting goals all the time, and those constantly change and constantly evolve. But your goal is to accomplish those things. But I think just that journey and achieving that is success. Even if you don't necessarily reach the goals you want, I think that entire journey is what defines success and your drive to do so. When we talk about Q Life, I just think about the finite amount of people that have influenced me as a person and as a football player. And, even if I had that impact on just one other person, I would do that. So I think just being able to be that person for other people and to be able to have that relationship is really special.
Awesome. You guys, thank you so much for coming on today. I greatly appreciate it. I've recorded this whole thing, so we'll drop it. And if you guys want to use it or cut it up or whatever, I'll send you, the recording so you can utilize it for yourselves as well. If you want to post it, tweet it, do whatever. I think there's some great information. Super grateful for all of you taking the time out of your day to come and, help educate those that are willing to, both athletes and coaches. I'm super appreciative of you guys, and thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.